Hey guys, in this video I'll be talking about who I think are objectively the best bodybuilders ever. Although this list will be in order, it is important to note that all the competitors are the best of the best, and their placings on this list shouldn't impact your view on them. Moreover, not only will the competitor's physique be a factor, but also their accomplishments within the sport of bodybuilding, and not necessarily their impact outside of it. Starting off this video is one of my personal favorite bodybuilders of all time, that being Chris Bumstead. Now technically this is going to be an honorable mention as he isn't an open class bodybuilder, however I do have great respect towards him from a physique and ambassador perspective. Regardless of the division, Chris is one of the most dominant champions we've seen in the 21st century, winning 5 consecutive Classic Physique Olympia titles, and possessing some of the best, most aesthetic genetics across the board. He has some of the most impressive lats across any division, the ability to get super shredded, and is one of the best ambassadors of the current era. Sergio Lea, while a golden era bodybuilder, finds himself in a very comfortable spot on this list. The 3-time Mr. Olympia champion should be no stranger to a list like this, as he arguably has the best genetics of all time and completely dominated the competition at the Olympias that he won. Even when he made his return to the Olympia after more than a 10-year hiatus, he managed to place within the top 10 both times at the 1984 and the 1985 Olympias. He competed within 2 different equally as legendary eras of bodybuilding, the Arnold era and the Lee Haney era, and was a real threat to anyone while doing so. Although he isn't nearly as big, completely developed, or conditioned as anyone on the list, his legendary status and relative dominance are more than enough to land himself comfortably on this list. Another favorite bodybuilder of mine, probably one of the first competitors that I ever really followed, is Kevin Levrone. Kevin is not only really legendary from his numerous professional wins and multiple top 2 finishes at the Olympia, but also from his comeback at the Olympia after 13 years and at an age of over 50. Kevin really needs no introduction, as his prime physique really should speak for itself. He had some of the best triceps and delts of any era, ridiculous proportions in the shots like the side chest and most muscular, and was always a contender for the Olympia title. He's so famous nowadays that many refer to him not by name, but by his new nickname, the uncrowned Mr. Olympia. Although I don't necessarily believe into that statement, I do think that he is one of the most impressive competitors ever, and also puts in a tremendous amount of effort into supporting and representing the sport of bodybuilding. In my opinion, where Kevin Levrone goes, so should Flex Wheeler. Both were in a very similar predicament when competing, as they shared the common ground of possessing some insane genetics, but always seemed to be fighting for second place at the Olympia. While Flex doesn't have as many top 2 Olympia finishes as Kevin, he does have a solid amount of Arnold Classic wins and arguably has 2 of the most recognizable top 2 placings at the Olympia, being 1998 and 1999. Additionally, I think that his physique, especially an earlier Flex, outright beats everyone else on the list thus far, and he really just had perfect symmetry, great conditioning, and a bubbly quality that nobody possessed at the time. He's up there with someone like Sergio Lea for the best genetics debate, as many untrained eyes would be completely floored to hear that he never even won the Olympia. Jay Cutler, the 4-time Mr. Olympia, is hands down my personal favorite Olympia winner of all time. Not only does he do a great job representing the sport and interacting with fans, he also had an incredible winning mindset from the get-go. Although he basically placed dead last at his first Mr. Olympia, he kept on refining his physique, and eventually broke through an immovable brick wall, that being Ronnie Coleman, to become the man who defeated the undefeatable. In my opinion, his 2 most legendary moments would be his 2nd place finish at the 2001 Olympia, as he came out of, completely nowhere and beat some of the best bodybuilders ever. The second moment would be, of course, his quad stomp in 2009. That image of the deep feathers and striations, combined with all that upper body mass, is cemented in bodybuilding history forever. It is easily one of the most recognizable pictures, which alone could make a case for him being on this list. You could also add his 2006 win to Ronnie Coleman, however, while it was a great moment, I feel like the other 2 stand out just a little bit more to me. Some of you guys may have been wondering where this next guy would end up on the list, so now, coming out of the shadows is none other than the shadow Dorian Yates. Dorian is one of those guys who I respect because of his incredible work ethic. Did he have the best genetics ever from a muscular insertion or structural standpoint? No, but what he did have was extremely hard work ethic, and he worked efficiently too to get to that Olympia by any means necessary. He worked for his grainy conditioning, and he worked to build some of the most dense muscularity of all time. Of course, he also had the best back of all time and defeated almost every legend of the 90s, which in itself is very impressive. Add all that to 6 consecutive Olympia wins, and you have one of the best competitors to ever grace the stage. The 7 times Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath, finds himself well within the top 5 of this list as he brought 90s level genetics to the 2010s, which left almost everyone fighting for second place when it came to the Olympia. At his best, his bubbly round muscle bellies, huge delts and arms, and perfectly developed back completely demolished anyone on stage, and would certainly push almost anyone from any era. Of course, Phil is also remembered for his unsightly gut, which, completely ruined his physique later on and cost him the Olympia title in 2018. However, if his midsection had remained uninjured, he could have definitely won 8 or more titles, breaking the record. For me, his 2011 package was probably his most aesthetic version, as he combined mass and clean lines. However, 2013 was also massive, bubbly, and full, and was mind-blowing, just completely insane, compared to almost anyone else from that era. Although he wasn't the best, most humble personality during his reign, nowadays he represents bodybuilding perfectly and gives very solid advice to the younger generation, and I personally look up to him a lot as I really do respect his physique and his work ethic as well. The other 7 times Mr. Olympia champion, and probably the most famous representative of the bodybuilding sport in and outside of the sport, is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not only did he dominantly win a majority of his Olympia titles, he also had one of the most easily recognizable and iconic physiques of all time. Huge arms, great back, and tons of mass, while presenting his physique through masterful posing and great stage presence. He also had some of the most interesting bodybuilding stories, such as his controversial 1980 Mr. Olympia win, or the entire backstory to the legendary film Pumping Iron. There really isn't much to be said about Arnold, as he could easily be the number 1 on many people's lists for the most iconic or recognizable representative of bodybuilding. However, in my opinion, I still do think there are 2 more competitors that definitely outclass him from a physique and accomplishment standpoint in bodybuilding. The next competitor on this list is someone that seems to not get the amount of recognition relative to his accomplishments, and that is the 8-time Mr. Olympia, Lee Haney. Although he decisively won 8 of the most desired titles in the sport, it seems as if nobody really talks about him. This could be due to his more quiet lifestyle, as he isn't as engrossed within social media as some of the others on this list. That being said, Lee gives some of the best training advice and information about bodybuilding as a whole. He has some great knowledge on how to do things efficiently and minimize the risk of injury, and his dominance throughout the 80s is a testament to his statements. He combined the aesthetics of the golden era with more size, but never once came in without good conditioning or with off proportions. His back is definitely up there with the best to ever do it, and he had one of the most underrated V-tapers of any competitor. I think that Lee doesn't get the level of praise that he deserves. However, his accomplishments and physique shouldn't need any explanation, and surely do speak for themselves. The final competitor on this list is the other 8-time Mr. Olympia champion, someone who is not unfamiliar with praise or respect, and that would be none other than Ronnie Coleman. He brought the objectively most dominant physique to the stage at the 2003 Olympia, with really nobody in the entire history of the sport coming close to that package at all. To add on to that, he's probably one of the most respected bodybuilders today, as there are always huge herds of people flocking to meet and talk with him. His legendary 1998 Olympia win, in which he went from 9th to 1st place, is probably the most legendary moment of his career, and that is just one out of many. Apart from maybe his 2001 and 2002 Olympia wins, which were mildly controversial, he brought unbeatable physiques to the stage from 1998 to 2005. The only time that he was ever beaten between those years was in 2002 at the Show of Strength by Gunter Schlierkamp. If it weren't for that loss, though, who knows if Ronnie would have been as fired up as he was to bring a never-seen-before package in 2003. Regardless, though, Ronnie is, in my opinion, the best bodybuilder of all time, from both a physique standpoint and from a representative standpoint in bodybuilding itself. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and do let me know down below who you think is the best bodybuilder, if you agree or disagree with this video, and if you would change around the list. If you enjoyed, a like and sub would really mean a lot to me, but regardless, I hope you all, come back next video to see the next one, and like always, thanks for watching.